with the Generous. This is your first Sundays with the General episode of the new season, considering that the NFL season is now over, and I have to come up with something to talk about every week, which, kind of makes us all a lot harder, actually. It's harder than you think. Um, we're going to start a little Super Bowl recap. I know it's a week later. Kansas City won 35, defeated Philadelphia 35-28. This is a very good game. Good for Kansas City. They second Super Bowl in 4 years. Very been a very good team. Very impressive how they overcame it. They managed to lose Tyreek Hill and get a better offense after they were down entering the second half. They fought their way back. Well coached team. Good performance by Kansas City. If you're the Eagles here, good for you. You made it. You lost to a great team. I said this. Jalen Hurts played an amazing game. I thought he was the better quarterback of the two between him and Patrick Mahomes in the game. Mahomes, obviously, he leads that game-winning drive there. The play that everyone's going to talk about from the Super Bowl, and rightfully so, is the holding call on Juju Smith-Schuster. And, that is a hold. That's definitely a hold. I've seen that called plenty of times before. It's normally called in a regular season game, not a Super Bowl. Now you haven't called anything all game. And that referee crew hadn't called a hold 576 straight snaps, I think was the number. 576 snaps they hadn't called a hold. And they call a hold then? Which is, it's not sure, by the letter of the law, by the book, like I said, that's a hold. You don't call that there to decide the outcome of a Super Bowl. You just don't. I can't be on board with calling that there. Anyway, Kansas City championship. Andy Reid has successfully written. He can win the big one. Now he's won two of them. He can win. Andy Reid has cemented himself as not just one of the offensive minds of a generation, but one of the best football coaches of a generation. And I say that as somebody who absolutely hates the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. I've never liked an Andy Reid team. That's a good football coach. That's a damn good football coach. The only thing the last thing I have to say before we move on here, this still does not make Kansas City a dynasty, and that is not a knock on Kansas City. It's just not what a dynasty is. They've still only won 2 championships. Only 2. I know it's a lot, but a dynasty is 3. A dynasty is at minimum, at worst, 3 out of 5. They won 2 out of 4. Right now, they're not a dynasty. If they repeat next year, it's a big if. It's NFL is crazy. If they repeat next year, yes, they're a dynasty. I will 100% call them a dynasty. I will not argue. There will be nothing to argue with. Right now, if we keep calling Kansas City a dynasty, which they are not, then we have to call Eli Manning's Giants a dynasty. We have to call Ben Roethlisberger's Steelers a dynasty. We have to call the late 90s Broncos a dynasty. None of those teams are dynasties. None of those teams were ever called a dynasty because they only won 2 championships in 4 years. And that's not what a dynasty is. So let's just stop changing the meaning of words, changing the definition of things to make Kansas City be more than they are. Let's just let it all play out and let it all happen as we've done for the 100-year history of the NFL. There's no need to change the meaning of it. It's not a dynasty yet. It could be, but right now it's not. And that's just a fact. Talk about the XFL real quick. I gotta say, I'm really happy that the XFL's back. I thought in 2020, thought the XFL absolutely would have gotten a second season if not for COVID-19. Everything that happened with COVID really just screwed the XFL. There was no way that with the attendance, they weren't going to meet their attendance requirements to sell enough tickets, to make enough money, to keep going for another year. But what they showed on the field was watchable enough football and good enough football that it definitely would have gotten a second season. And it actually got 2 players into the NFL, Donald Parham and PJ Walker. And that's really what the XFL is supposed to be. And that's what I think we need to remember when we watch the XFL. This isn't going to compete with the NFL. This isn't even going to compete with the NCAA. This is a way for guys to get their shot. Guys who otherwise may have gone unnoticed. Guys who are looking for a way to get back into the league. The XFL could serve as a breeding ground for some of these role players in the NFL, maybe even better players. We don't know. And, maybe it's even a way for some coaches to get into the league, like Terrell Buckley, former 5th overall draft pick, is coaching. He was coaching last night and off the maybe he can. He's coaching college a little bit. We got Wade Phillips coaching. Maybe these guys can get coordinated jobs if their teams play well. You don't know what can happen. I think the XFL opens the door for more opportunities for people. Yesterday we got some decent football. Arlington Renegades and Vegas Vipers were the first game of the afternoon. Renegades won 22-20. This is obviously a very close game where Vegas actually, they were down 22-14. They actually scored a touchdown with gotta be like 30 seconds left or something. I was watching it live. Less than 30 seconds left. I went for 2-point conversion to tie it. Obviously didn't get it. But, love a little excitement there. The quarterback, Perez, for the Renegades, played a very good first half. I forget his first name. Played a very good first half. Didn't really do that good in the second. Didn't really do that in the second half, but again, he didn't lose. He didn't blow the game up for them, obviously. They went on to win. He might be a guy to watch this year in the XFL. Of course, we've only had 2 games. It's hard to tell anything. The Houston Roughnecks and the Orlando Guardians, as I mentioned, the second game. The Houston Roughnecks won 33-12. They're probably going to be one of the teams to watch here. I'd say, I believe, I'd have to look back. I believe, actually, no, I read this earlier. Yes, sorry, my brain works in mysterious ways. Houston was 5-0 in the XFL before it was shut down in 2020. They got Wade Phillips. If you're an NFL fan, you know the name Wade Phillips as the head coach. probably, I don't even know who all the coaches are in the XFL, but just taking a wild guess here that Wade Phillips is the most experienced coach in the XFL. And they obviously beat up on the Guardians last night. I think the Roughnecks are going to be the team to watch. It's also, I have to say, the Houston Roughnecks is an awesome name. That's just a really good name for a football team. Like I said, this is a way for guys. As I said, the XFL can serve as a way to get into the league. You had Trent Harris last night get 4 sacks for the Roughnecks. If he keeps this up, it's obviously, if he keeps playing anything like that the rest of the year, that's obviously somebody to keep an eye on. The other person I want to mention last night, Cody Latimer, playing for Orlando. Obviously, they lost. He started the game off very strong. Some of us may remember him. He played a couple of years ago for the Broncos, about 2 seasons in the league. He's a very talented kid coming out. Didn't really do that much. They said last night in the broadcast he's got 16 months sober. He's got a little girl at home now. He's trying to find his way back to the league. These are the kind of stories that I love in sports, and not just because I'm a recovering alcoholic myself, just because this is what sports are about. It's, you've heard people say it's just a game. It's not. That's one of those stories where it's a lot more than just a game. There's a lot more going on to all these events than just what we see on the field sometimes. And, I think that's really why we all love sports so much at the end of it, and at the end of the day. Speaking of stories of why we love sports, it's actually the only reason that I'm going to talk about this. I personally, I don't watch the NBA All-Star Weekend anymore. I think the All-Star game sucks. I think the 3-point contest got a little lame. The 3-point contest is all right. 3-point contest is still all right. The slam dunk contest really has gotten lame recently. We're never going to get the good ones. Like, we're never going to get the great ones anymore. You know what I mean? This ain't the Vince Carter days. LeBron James ain't doing this again. But last night in the slam dunk contest, we actually got a really good story. That's the only I went back and watched these highlights because of the story. I watched the whole slam dunk contest. I know, weird thing for me to do. This kid, Mac McClung, signed out of the G League in the past week by the 76ers. I guess he was a 2022 G League Rookie of the Year. He's really a name that I was that familiar with. This kid comes out, gets a 50 on a perfect score on all of his dunks, wins the slam dunk contest. He signed a deal with Puma. Just an awesome 5 days for this kid. It never scored a basket in an NBA game. And goes out and he wins the slam dunk contest. And he had some fucking sick dunks. He brought out, he had a guy with a kid on his shoulder. He jumped over both of them, took the fucking ball out of the kid's hand. But I'm not good at fucking explaining it. You know that. But go watch it for yourself. It was awesome. He had some great dunks, which you don't really see those anymore in the slam dunk contest. It's gotten lame. Some of the Jericho Sims dunks last night, were kind of embarrassing. This is what he brought out for a slam dunk contest. Kenyon Martin Jr. had a couple of all right, pretty good dunks, but really nothing too special. Mac McClung really showed up. And I just think that's awesome for this kid to literally never score a basket in an NBA game. Literally just got into the NBA within the last 5 days and goes out and does this. Yeah, everyone turns it down now. And that's one of the things. Is why that's good point on this. It's one of the reasons the slam dunk contest got none of the players really want to do it anymore. It's just not as much fun. I mean, back in the day, slam dunk contest, you just used to be awesome. And it used to the Gerald Green cupcake dunk, Dwight Howard Superman. I don't know. I guess there was a little bit more showmanship before. But, like I said, this good for Mac McClung. I just think that's fucking awesome. I also think that a goofy-looking white dude with a name like Mac McClung winning an NBA slam dunk contest and then saying that it's over. It's just hilarious to me. Throwing on his high school jersey to end that, fucking awesome. I just love the idea of giving his high school the support, showing out giving the publicity to his old team like that. And that's about all I got for you today. I would talk a little more NFL offseason. Not much has happened yet. Obviously, the only thing going on is apparently Derek Carr is going to talk to the Jets this week. That's not that exciting to me. Not really worth the whole segment of the show. Anyway, folks, keep your eyes out this week for Blue Collar Cantina. Will finally be making its return. Mark and Luke, if you're watching, Blue Collar Cantina is coming back this week to talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which I will be going to see in a couple hours. I'm very excited for. And you should be seeing a lot more of the Cantina this year. We are changing the Blue Collar Cantina to not just talk Marvel and Star Wars. We will be talking all movies, and we got a great run of movies coming out over the next few months. A lot of movies that I'm very excited to talk. I'm going to be very excited to talk about. All right, folks, thanks for tuning in. I'll hopefully be back next week.